Hey guys, Chad Hoover, Kayak Bassing TV. It stormed this morning and we got soaked to the core. In fact, my quick drying pants have not been that quick to dry. So I spent some time on the crapper this morning reading comments, and I came across a really good comment, so I decided to respond to it in video. Grant Henderson asked, Chad Hoover, mono versus fluoro. I haven't been able to make the switch. I can't get over that ugly memory that fluorocarbon leader tends to have in it. One of the major advantages for me to using a fluorocarbon leader is that there are a lot of really high quality fluorocarbons. I don't like the stretch that mono has in it when I don't want it. I love it when I do want it. So let's just jump into that, and I'll talk about when I choose a mono leader versus when I choose fluoro and what led to me, getting into using a lot more fluoro than I had in the past. Because a lot like you, Grant, I was kind of a diehard mono and braid guy. Got into fluorocarbon, using it for jerk baits and jig fishing and some other things, and just really appreciated the abrasion resistance characteristics, the ability to fish in ultra clear water with the lighter fluorocarbon, and I really loved getting rid of the stretch. First and foremost, I think that UV light damage is the most overlooked problem in fishing. If you ever look at my videos and you see how I set my rods up, I've always got these rod sleeves over them when I'm transporting them. I still leave them in the light as little as I possibly can. I change my leaders out once a week, regardless of whether or not they need it. Standing up in a rod holder, laying in the cockpit, being exposed to UV light really weakens leader material, and it also gives fluorocarbon that cloudy, that ugly, nasty look. So to answer Grant's question, I'm with you. I do understand how that fluorocarbon starts to look. My answer to that is buy your fluorocarbon in the bulk spools. Use it, change it out more frequently. You'll save more money in the long run by buying the bulk spools. Come up with a way to manage your fluorocarbon. Keep it out of the light, out of the sunlight. And in fact, let me show you something real quick. You guys stay right there. I'm actually just gonna go ahead and show you how I manage my line. So there's this tackle tamer deal-a-majigger right here. It's basically just a piece of elastic with a little nipple, if you will, that sticks off, and your line sticks out of there. And I really actually wanted to show you guys this. Let me just come on in and show you something here. If you see the difference in color between this line and this line, I actually pulled all this line off and left that there so I could demonstrate this point, and I just thought about it. This line right here was left out on the deck of the boat when I let my son Austin borrow my spool to go on a fishing trip with his buddies, and this line is the line that's underneath. And just in one day of UV light, you see the difference in the color and how that line got really cloudy and that line got really kind of murked up. That's what happens to your line even when it's on your reel. The other thing that happens is if you end up with your line getting pre-nicked because of the way you store it, or damaged, you can end up with problems. So I like to keep my fluorocarbon on these spools. This little line management system right here is pretty cool because you can just pull the line off. It keeps it taut. It keeps it neat. I don't waste it by opening up my tackle box and there's a whole, nest of line that fell off of the spool. If you end up wanting to put it back on there, you simply take this little nipple and turn it round and around like that. Well, just do it this way. Just turn it and it puts the line back on there and keeps it nice and neat, nice and clean. I'm a big fan of keeping this stored and out of the way. I actually have a wrap that goes around this that if I have to put it in the sunlight, I keep that over the top of my fluoro. And again, if I'm fishing more than a couple of hours in a day, I'll even change my leader material daily. So a big fan of fluoro when it comes off the spool, but after a while it gets milky, it gets white, it gets ugly, and you end up with memory. In a couple of videos ago, I showed you guys how to get rid of the memory in the video about hydrilla and fishing with fluorocarbon over hydrilla. If you simply take your hand and pinch the line between your fingers and rub it back and forth, the friction builds up heat, the heat relaxes the memory, and you can restore your fluorocarbon to that natural state where it doesn't end up with the memory. So here's the question. After all that buildup, when do I use mono and when do I use fluoro? It's really simple, and I hate to oversimplify it, but I use mono when I want to get stretch in my leader material or when buoyancy is desired. So let me explain that. If I want a little bit of stretch, like if I'm throwing 65-pound braid and I'm pitching a frog and I'm fishing over the top of lily pads, I want to use a mono leader. I'm a big fan of the heaviest diameter that I can get away with that doesn't spook the fish because it's got a bigger diameter, which means it's more resistance in the water and more buoyancy. If I'm fishing big worms and I'm fishing them in shallow water, I like a mono leader so I can throw it out there and the mono just lays on the water with my leader to braid connection. I don't have one right here. My leader to braid connection, you guys have seen me talk about that before. That little tuft acts like a strike indicator. So if the Flouro sinks, it pulls that underwater, but mono will lay out and kind of taper down into the water, and then I can just sit there with no tension on the line and watch that knot. And more often than not, you'll see that knot move way before you see the line move. With Flouro, that's going to sink. With monofilament, it'll float right there on the surface. So if I'm fishing big worms, big creature baits in shallow water, I like that little bit of stretch. I like the bigger diameter, and that's when I'll choose to fish. I'll fish that way for, I'll give you an example. Everybody knows this guy, right? Don't be this guy, the ooh-ooh-ah guy. That's the guy that's got the rod and he throws it out there and he's pointing it at the fish and he feels the tap and it's like, ooh, ah, ooh, ooh, ah. And you've all fished by that guy, right? You've all fished by the guy that's like, ooh, ooh, ah, is constantly doing the monkey face, ooh, ooh. And then the ah. And what happens is that fish is feeling him before he's able to set the hook, and therefore he's losing the fish. I really like to do a lot of out of contact fishing, which means I throw the bait out, I put some slack in the line, I lay it on the water, and I watch that knot. When I see the knot move, you know, I either open the bail and give it a little slack, or I point my rod reel down and then set the hook. So that's when I choose monofilament, when I want a little bit of stretch. Topwater frog fishing comes to mind as one of the top times that I do that. Really big swim baits, you know, anything over 4 inches. That's not really big for you big swim baiters, but anything over 4 inches, anything that's heavy. Oh, my bull shads, you know, if you throw it out there and you get a backlash and you're throwing a fluorocarbon leader that's not that heavy, it's going to snap off and you'll get a little tear in your eye as you watch a $60 swim bait fly through the air. But with some mono in there, even if you backlash at that stretch, keeps you from throwing the bait off. I don't really like to tie a braid direct to it. I would prefer to have that monofilament on there. So as that bait is falling, when I kill it, that line offers some resistance. So that resistance through the water is another reason that I choose monofilament over fluorocarbon, because if I want to slow the fall, I want to go to monofilament. If I want to increase the fall, I want to go to fluorocarbon. So if I'm fishing a worm I want a quick fall on, fluorocarbon. If I want to slow the fall down, if I want to fish a trick worm and have it suspend up around the treetop, monofilament. Again, stretch, monofilament. No stretch, fluorocarbon. Clear, 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 ultra clear water, gin clear water, where you're fishing in a glass of water, then you want to go as light as you can. And fluorocarbon, in my opinion, offers better invisibility, and it offers better strength in the smaller diameters. Better knot tying. So that memory that you talked about also serves to tie really strong knots if you tie them properly. So when I'm jig fishing, I'll sometimes use a really heavy fluorocarbon in dirty water when I'm bringing it over treetops. But if I'm fishing it in rock or shell or places and there's clear water, then I want to use fluorocarbon. So really it comes down to understanding the characteristics of both line, making sure that you protect both of them from the UV light, and make sure that you choose the right application, the right leader length, and the right setup for the type of fishing that you're doing. If you have any more specific questions about mono or fluorocarbon choices for any type of presentation, post those up in the comment section below. Grant, thanks for the comment. I will send you some KBF love. Send me a message and we'll take care of you for that. As always, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. Share this video so other folks can hit the thumbs up button. Let me know if you like videos like this where I'm not fishing, where I'm just talking about concepts of things that subscribers are asking on the channel. And as always, please ask the questions, because those engagements are great for the channel. The thumbs up's great for the channel. The comments are great for the channel. That interaction is what I really love about doing this. So keep the comments coming. We'll grab one of your comments and feature them in a future video. Again, don't forget to subscribe to Kayak Bass. Bleh. Don't forget to get into kayak bass fishing, but subscribe to Kayak Bassing TV so you can get better at it. And then do me a favor, watch one of these other videos, comment on those as well, like them, share them, help us grow the channel. I'll see you next time for more kayak bass fishing action. and we'll pick out one of your comments and feature it or something like that. My pants need to dry soon because the rain stopped and I can see clearly now because the rain is gone.